This is Joseph Dunlap with Manaleak.com, and I am here with Kelly Reed of Quiet Speculation. So first off, Kelly, what do you do? What are some things you can tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Kelly. I am one of the co-founders of quietspeculation.com. We're a site dedicated to paying attention to the secondary market of Magic the Gathering cards. We use data analysis to keep an eye on price trends, metagame trends, and our site runs articles 5 days a week. We have a very powerful price and inventory tool, forums, and very soon we're going to have something called the Ion Scanner, which is what we're here to talk about today, which is software that uses a webcam to recognize Magic cards and help you catalog your collection. I am the CEO of quietspeculation.com. I'm more of a technical CEO than a business CEO. I do our back-end databases and data analysis. I'm the project lead for the Ion Scanner. So that's why we're here hanging out today.
All right. I'm going to ask you some questions about Quiet Speculation, but first I'm actually interested in when you started playing Magic. How long have you been playing Magic?
I have been playing Magic since 1994. I'm 32 years old. I started when I was 10. I was around when the Dark was on shelves and when Fallen Empires was the new hotness.
What is your preferred format?
I actually really enjoy limited and sort of offbeat casual formats. My favorite format is something I kind of made up. It's called 40-card Peasants Singleton. The idea is you essentially build draft decks with your constructed stock, and the goal is to show people that you can have a complete and enjoyable Magic gameplay experience without spending $500 on a standard deck. I would play more competitively, but I really just don't have the time to devote to being as good as I'd like to be. So I just, I play pre-releases, I draft and do sealed with friends, and I have my box full of commons and uncommons that I use to build fun 40-card decks.
So you've got a sizable collection then?
It's not that big anymore. I used to own a game store, so my collection has been very, very large at some points, but now it's down to, 3,000 cards or so.
Well, you still got, 3,000-ish cards, so this is a relevant topic here. You're working on the Ion Scanner, so it's a unique software, lets you scan cards and so forth. Can you tell us what this will be and what it offers to the Magic community?
Sure. So, like I said, I have a technical background. I always think about technological solutions to problems, and I always think about how to make things scale up. The way that most of the tools at Quiet Speculation came about came from my necessity as a store owner. I had probably 50,000 cards that were just dead stock, that just, they weren't going to sell in my retail store. I wasn't interested in selling online, but I needed to liberate those cards from my inventory to get my capital back out. And so I developed a program called Trader Tools, which is now part of the Quiet Speculation package. And that tool essentially took a list of Magic cards, analyzed their buy list prices. And for anybody who's unfamiliar with buy lists, essentially sites like Star City Games and Channel Fireball, Card Kingdom, all the big sites, pretty much any site these days, will buy your individual cards from you for cash or store credit. What Trader Tools did was to pull a bunch of those offers into one place, and then it would automatically divvy up your collection that you wished to sell based on who'd pay the most, and it would even help you submit the buy list so you didn't have to retype every card name into every site. So that was my first foray into sort of data and building technological solutions that would scale. So that was huge for me as a store owner because it let me turn my dead stock into cash so I could invest in collections. This was about 2011. That led to a problem of, this tool will do all the heavy lifting once it knows what cards I own. And working as a solo store owner, I'm working 16-hour days, 6 days a week. I don't have the time to type in every single card into Excel or into my own tool. And so in 2009, I started prototyping something with very rudimentary image recognition software. I had a webcam taped to a stick, and I stitched together a couple pieces of open source software, and eventually I was able to get it to recognize a Magic card in about 10 or 20 seconds, which is obviously way too slow. But it was an awesome prototype. It was never going to go anywhere, and I didn't have the background to turn it into a commercializable tool or even a usable tool. So I just kind of put it on the back burner for about 4 years. Then I sold the store. I focused on Quiet Speculation, focused on software. About a year ago, my co-founder, Doug Lynn, came to me and was, I've been seeing people on the internet posting these Android and iPhone apps that use the phone's built-in camera to recognize Magic cards. I remember you were working on that back in the day. Have you looked at them? And I was like, no, I kind of just forgot about that project. I didn't think we'd be able to do anything with it. He's like, you should probably look into it again. The technology's gotten a whole lot better. And when Doug says something like that, he's a smart dude. I tend to listen. And so I went out and I looked at what was on offer, and I was like, oh my God, these got way better. So I started looking into it in earnest. They were good. They mostly were, for your phone or your tablet. And the problem was that you had to hold your phone or whatever in one hand and manipulate cards with your other hand. And I didn't really care for that. As a store owner, you might have millions of cards that are sitting in boxes on catalog. You're not going to sit there with your cell phone in one hand going card by card. It needs to be faster, it needs to be better, it needs to be more ergonomic and more efficient. So we sat around looking at all the different versions, and we found a guy who had some really good technology, who was just kind of starting to look at ways to monetize it. And we came to him and said, listen, we think your technology is the best on the market. He was in a position to accept an offer from us to work on it, as opposed to taking it on his own. And so we brought him on board to the team, and we sat down with him, talked about what the underlying technology looked like, and we talked to some store owners that we knew, some of our customers, some of our clients, some of our friends, and just kind of got a broad spectrum idea of, like, what would you do if you had a magical computer that could recognize magic cards with just a camera. And, of course, people they loved the idea. They were bananas for it. And so we're like, okay, we got it. We got to build this. We hired the guy, and we sat down, spec'd it out. Over the last 6 months, he's been working with us to build out sort of the dream product that we all wish we'd had from day one. And as of the Pro Tour on the Saturday afternoon, we announced to the public that we're ready to unveil it in a commercial capacity. Before I kind of go into how we plan to distribute it, there are videos, and if you go to quietspeculation.com, we have an article that says announcing the Ion Scanner. There are videos of this thing working in action, so you can really, you have to see it to understand it, but in the simplest way, it's a piece of software that runs on Windows. There will be a Mac version eventually. It uses pretty much any off-the-shelf webcam as long as it's USB. We have a special camera we picked out for use, but for most people, their own webcam should be just fine. And what you do is you take your magic cards and you one by one just kind of slide them under the camera, and as soon as it detects a card in the frame, it will compare what it sees to our database, and it will pop up the name of the card on the screen along with information from our price database, and it will add it to a list. And from there, once you are done scanning your cards in, you can export that list into our software, which lets you manipulate it, like I said before. You can download your list in an Excel format, or you can send your list as a link to your friends to show them what you have, or you can use our tool to send the cards to buy lists and liquidate your cards into cash. And that's what we're calling Ion Core. It's just the core version of the software. It does one thing, and it does one thing really well. It scans your cards and turns a stack of magic cards into a computerized list of magic cards along with prices. Then there is Ion Pro, which is something we designed for store owners who have a lot of cards and who have staff and who have needs of significant scale. And that's got all kinds of interesting features. I won't go into the whole thing here, but essentially you have a lot of ability to customize what prices you show. You can pull in your own prices as opposed to using the ones we serve up. It's got the ability to say, hey, if a card is bulk, don't add it to the list. It's got audio cues, so if you need to clarify which edition the card is from, if a card is over a certain dollar threshold, if a card is under a certain dollar threshold, it helps your employees learn what cards are worth by integrating the visual and the auditory at once, which has been shown to boost retention and boost learning. And so it's really a tool to empower store owners and their employees to just be more efficient. We've clocked it, and I think my co-founder actually did a speed test. He said he burned through about 1,000 count boxes an hour, which is, I'm a pretty fast typist, and I know every single card in Magic, and I can not possibly keep up with that. The Ion Pro also has the ability to integrate with kind of whatever e-commerce or bookkeeping software you might have as a business. And that's one of the really important features. Is if you use Crystal Commerce, as soon as you're done scanning, you can press a button and it'll serve you up a file that you can send into Crystal Commerce, and it will adjust your inventory quantities accordingly. If you use QuickBooks, we can work to integrate that into your point of sale. We're pretty happy doing custom work for our clients, so if they've got something offbeat or new or custom, we can find ways to work around that too. So the Ion Pro for stores is in closed beta right now. It's pretty much ready to go, but we're just getting it into the hands of some stores to make sure that it's real good before we release it to the public. Ion Core is going to be included with the Quiet Speculation subscription membership. We don't sell cards on Quiet Speculation. We don't run advertising. We put our good articles, no, sorry, I shouldn't say our good articles. We put our long-form articles behind a paywall, similar to, like Star City Premium, as well as our tool behind the paywall. And this is just one more thing we're adding to that subscription. We're not raising the price. We're not making people pay extra for it. We're just saying, hey, thanks for being a subscriber. Here's one more cool new thing that this tool does. Hopefully this tool makes it easier to use the rest of our tools. So that should be available for download in about a week. And Ion Pro is going to be in beta for another month or two. The stores that want to test it should email me at kelly@quietspeculation.com and let me know they're interested. If you're just a Magic player or a collector, sign up for Quiet Speculation Insider, and you'll get notified when it's available for release. The scanner doesn't know how to read, and that sounds like it's bad, but it's actually great, because I've seen a lot of scanners that use what's called OCR, optical character recognition, to read the text on a card. That doesn't work well because it's very slow. And it also doesn't work well because if your card isn't in the English language, you won't be able to read it. Our card scanner works with a different technology that evaluates the entire card as a single unit. And it can recognize the card. It uses a combination of the art, the coloration of the borders, and all that to make an educated mathematical guess as to what it sees. So, if you're a collector and you just got somebody else's collection and it's got a bunch of Japanese cards in it and you don't read Japanese, no problem. You can put it under the scanner, and within about a tenth of a second, it will show you the English name of the card, and you will also be able to flag it as Japanese in the software. It will not be able to automatically detect that it's Japanese. That's a bit much to ask for it at this point. But again, if you're a store owner and you're processing thousands of cards a day, your entry-level employees just don't know what some of those older cards are. And if they're not English, they could very easily let an Italian Legends card that looks like garbage slip through, and they may have just thrown away a $100 card into a bulk box. It also has no problem seeing cards that are foil. It can see right through the foil layer. That's no problem either. The best way to imagine how this thing sees is if I hold a Black Lotus in front of your face, you can tell it's a Black Lotus. You can read the name Black Lotus, and you can read the text box. But if I walk 25 feet across the room, unless you're literally Superman, you cannot read the words on that card, but there's no doubt in your mind that it's a Black Lotus. That's how this works.
All right, that sounds good. Now, the name is Ion Scanner, and that kind of sounds like an abbreviation for something, an acronym, but I remember you told me that that's not quite what it means.
Yeah, if I was quicker-witted, I would come up with something funny that ION stands for, but it doesn't stand for anything. It's just the word Ion. It's kind of a cool, techy-sounding name. It's short, it's only 3 letters, and I actually got the idea when I was driving through Silicon Valley, and I saw a billboard for something else techie that was named like Ion something else. And I was like, that's a cool word. I like that word. I should name something after it. And then I realized Ion, I-O-N. If you say it, Ion, it sounds like you have your eye on something. And that's exactly what it does, is it's a computerized eye on your Magic cards. So it's a dorky pun. I like those. I like that kind of humor. So it's cool, it's techie, but it's also a pun. It also actually makes sense considering what the software actually does.
The misdirect essentially makes it an acropun. Well, thanks a lot for joining to talk about the Ion Scanner, Kelly. And if you are interested in the Ion Scanner and Quiet Speculation, then go to quietspeculation.com. Yeah,
if you're interested in this, quietspeculation.com is the name of our site. There's an announcement on the homepage. And you can always email me, kelly@quietspeculation.com. If you're a player and you just have some questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. If you are a store owner or a hobbyist business or something in between, and you would like to test the pro version and give us some feedback on it, we'd be glad to let you use it for free for a couple weeks in exchange for your ideas and feedback. So email me at the same address.
Thanks again for joining me, Kelly. This has been Joseph Dunlap with Manaleak.com. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and I'll see you later.